Hey you guys, welcome to another video about classroom management. My previous video was about routines and procedures. In today's video, we are going to be talking about building relationships. So the way that building relationships ties in with classroom management is that if your kids know that you love them and that you care for them and that you want the best for them, then they're gonna trust you. I tried to establish positive relationships starting on the very first day of school, and I realized my students, they just never wanted to disappoint me. I didn't want to disappoint them, and I just really wanted them to know that I was for them and with them. This established some really good classroom management. So in this video, I am going to be giving you guys some tips or activities, some examples on how I established positive relationships with my students, but also them with each other. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you aren't already, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get into it. I have a list on my phone, so if you see me looking down, it's this. So on the very first day of school, I introduced them to this bucket called the shout out bucket. So this was a way for them to shout out their classmates. Now I only have two eyes and I cannot see everything. I cannot see all the good that goes on. So this was a chance for them to see something good that maybe I didn't see, and for them to write it down and to put it in the shout out bucket, and occasionally I would read through them. So for example, one of my students wrote in the shout out bucket that another student allowed him to sit with him on the bus. And we all know that, well, maybe not all of us, but if you have ever ridden a school bus, you know how intimidating it can be when you walk in and you don't know where to sit. But the fact that this kid walked in and maybe felt that same way, and one student scooted over and said, hey, you can sit with me. And I couldn't see that, and I would have never known if this kid didn't give him a shout out. And I just thought it was so sweet and just a really good idea for you to implement in your own classroom for other students to recognize other students. Another way to build positive relationships could be icebreakers. Now, I would do this occasionally in the morning. I know some days we're in a rush, we're on the go, and we start with academics. But there are days that maybe you want to grab an icebreaker and talk about what you guys ate in the morning, or did any of you guys have some dreams last night? And I just think that's a really good way to see where everyone is at in the morning. Not everyone's morning starts off on the right foot, and this was a good way to see whose didn't, you know? A game that we played in the first few weeks of school was, it was kind of like this ball toss, and on the ball, well, I guess it was a cube, because it had some questions on each face of the cube. So we would get in a circle and one student would start. They would read any of the questions that they landed on, and the questions were so good. It was like, I feel brave when I, and then they would fill it in. I specifically remember a lot of my students' answers. For example, one of my students feels brave when she walks in the hallway in the morning. And I didn't realize how intimidating that could be, because the way our school rolls is that everyone, when you come in, you sit in the hallway outside of your classroom door. So when students walk in, there are kids lining up, just sitting down, you know, just kind of watching. And she feels brave when she walks in the hallway in the morning to go sit down. Another question was like, what makes me unique is, and I had a student named Neve, and she said, my name backwards is Heaven. And she just realized that her name was very unique. So I love this little ball toss. My friend got it for me at Target, and it was such a great buy. And you could even make it if they don't have it at Target anymore. I'm sure you can make it. It was just a cube, and you just toss it, and you could write your own questions. And I just really loved playing that game because it was a good way for all of us to get to know each other and stuff like that. So I liked it. Another way to build positive relationships is on their birthday. So no matter what the agenda was, that day, if it was someone's birthday, our morning work was that everyone was writing a birthday card for the birthday person. And I love this because everyone was really excited about making birthday cards. So whenever it was someone's birthday, they'd be so excited. Yeah, my students could get mean and they can get catty, but on their birthday, those birthday cards were so sweet. I would like walk around and kind of like peek and read whenever they'd be writing stuff. And it was just really sweet moments. And it makes the birthday girl or the birthday boy feel so special. It makes them feel like they have a classroom of real friends. And I definitely recommend pausing for like 10 minutes in your day if it's someone's birthday and having everyone make a small birthday card. We played this other game towards like the middle of the school year after we have all gotten to know each other really well. And it was kind of like this yarn toss game. I played it when I went to camp like forever ago. And pretty much we start off with a ball of yarn and we toss it to anyone in the circle and we say something encouraging. And it could be like, you know, you're really good at your math facts, or you have the best handwriting in the class. And it was just a way for students to, one, learn how to encourage one another, and two, know how good it feels like to be encouraged. And I think when you know how good it feels like to be encouraged, you want to give back and encourage other people. So this was super fun, and they were so sweet. The way that they would toss it and encourage one another and say things that I probably didn't even realize of that student. And yeah, they would just pretty much call out their gifts and really say what they were good at and stuff like that. David just came in and gave me Junior. He's been peeing in the house. He's so cute though. He's learning, but he really needs to be taken out like every 15 minutes, which can be hard sometimes because we're both working throughout the day. But this is Junior, everyone, for those of you who don't know. Sorry to pause this video real quickly. But he has his own YouTube channel called Just Being Junior. I'll put him on the table. Junior, look. He is 7.5 weeks old. And he also has an Instagram called Just Being Junior. So go follow him. And he really likes to bite. That's my ring. Recess duty is another good opportunity to build relationships with your students. Now, I'm not saying you go on and play with your students, but I realized when I was doing recess duty, like, first of all, yes, I do want a break from my students. I do want my space, but I would just be chilling and my students would all come up to me, especially the girls. They all wanted to come and chit chat with me and tell me about their personal lives and who they're crushing on, and I loved it just because it made me realize that they trusted me, because most of it was about who they liked and who's their boyfriend this week and their boyfriend next week, and talking about how much their big brother annoys them and stuff like that. But I realized that they trust me, and like, they do not have to hang out with their teacher during recess, but they always chose to. So I just kind of started to embrace it, even though at first I was like, oh, I want my space, or oh, I kind of want to be alone right now. I just realized I started to embrace it and really enjoy it and love it. And I built like this really strong bond with a lot of my students, even during recess. I definitely recommend to spend a little time with them during recess if they do come up to you. Like, just embrace it and love it and enjoy it. And the last two things I'm going to talk about is boy time and girl time. And this was huge in my class. And I got it from when I was in middle school. So when I was in, I think, 7th grade, I went to a private school for a very short time, and I had a Bible class. And in my Bible class, the boys and the girls would split up to do 2 different classes. So the girls would be with our girl teacher and the guys would be with their guy teacher. And I loved it because we had just kind of like the freedom to talk to our teacher, whom she was very young and amazing, and ask her questions. I still remember a lot of our conversations that we had that were pretty deep, and a lot of stuff that was Bible related as well. I feel like it was a really good opportunity for us to gain a lot of wisdom from our teacher, but also build relationships with the other girls in our class. And that's huge because when you go to high school, for some reason girls hate each other and it's just so weird. And I just felt like this was a really good class, and I'm glad I took it before I went to high school, and I realized like girl power, you know, like girls don't have to hate each other, girls don't have to be enemies. There doesn't have to be a competition and all that stuff. And I really wanted to implement that in my class. And we did this about every other Friday because of just lack of time. So every other Friday we would have guy time and girl time, meaning the guys would do their centers. Like we always did centers on Fridays normally, but in this case, it would just be like, okay, the guys just do centers while the girls would be with me in the back table. And the way that I did it with the girls was different each time we did it. So the first week I started off with, I bought them all like a cute, dazzling notebook from like the Dollar Tree. And that was kind of like their journal to journal. I used to be really huge on journaling and I loved it. It was a way for me to grow and to write down experiences and write down my thoughts and stuff like that. So I gave them this journal and we opened it and we just, the first day we kind of just started to write about ourselves. Like, who am I? My name is so-and-so. I'm this years old. These are my favorite colors. These are my favorite shows. These are my favorite food. And it was kind of just a way for them to like just write about themselves, write about who they are, what their personal interest was. Then 2 weeks later, our topic was about how true beauty comes from within and what that actually means. So at first we started with talking about what beauty means, what we think beauty means, and they wrote it down and a lot of them talked about makeup. And then we would talk about what like kindness looks like and how kindness equals beauty. So that was just a really good topic because when Christmas rolled around, I went to the Dollar Tree looking for gifts and I got them this mirror that said true beauty comes from within. And I was like, no way, how is this possible? And then, 2 weeks later, we would talk about our what we all have in common or how we're all different. And I love this because they realize how much they have in common, but they all realize how unique they individually are. So I loved girl time so much. Boy time was definitely more difficult to think about topics. So the first week we did handshakes. So I paired them up with a partner, and this is while the girls are in centers. So the boys came to the back table, they had a partner, and they would come up with a handshake. And I loved it. They were so creative and they got really fun with it. And this was a handshake that they carried on throughout the year. And then another week we talked about bro code. And bro code is something that you learn when you are in high school, I guess, maybe middle school, and it's stupid. But in this case, we learned about a different kind of bro code, which means like encourage your bro, or always stand up for your bro, or never talk about your bro behind his back, just stuff like that. That way they're learning how to build relationships with each other. And I know girls can be catty with each other, but so can boys. Boys can be kind of stupid with each other as well. So at a young age, I wanted them to know this bro code that they'll probably never hear about again. And my intentions for bro code was for them to like maybe see one of their guy friends in need and remember bro code, always be there for your bro, So these are just some ways that you can build relationships with each other, with you and the student, but it's also really important for your students to build relationships with each other because elementary school is such a fun and sweet rainbow place, but middle school and high school is rough. And I just really wanted them to remember these basic principles of kindness and loving each other, and hopefully they remember that forever. I don't know if they will or not, but I hope that they remember our guy time and our girl time and how sweet it was. I absolutely believe that if you have a positive relationship with your students and your students have positive relationships with each other, then your classroom management will be much better because they trust you, they trust each other, and you just become a family. And a family you just never want to disappoint your family, you know? So I think that really helped in my class. I felt like my students knew that I was for them and that I was on their side. But like I was absent for 2 days because I was so sick, and I came back with just my whole desk covered in notes. And I remember seeing this sub like a week later, and she was like, "Are you Miss Hall?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Your kids really love you." And that just made me feel so good because I knew that all of this like relationship building and all of these exercises, it is so worth it. So anyways, I want to encourage you to definitely use some of these activities, or look up some activities of your own, look up some icebreakers, buy some yarn and play this yarn game. They're super easy, and just have fun with it. So anyways, I hope that you found this video useful. And if you did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. See you later.